Welcome to Sergey versus Goliath. Today I'm talking about fly ash. And the trillion-dollar question, of course, is, could the push to block the sun be less about saving the planet and more about creating a trillion-dollar industry? Some of the most powerful figures in big business, government, and climate research have been backing large-scale atmospheric modification.
Bill Gates is backing the first high-altitude experiment of one radical climate change solution, creating a massive chemical cloud that could cool the Earth. It's called solar geoengineering, and it's highly controversial.
But is this really about fighting climate change, or could it be a convenient way to turn industrial waste into absolute gold? Fly ash is a fine particulate waste created when coal is burned, biomass is combusted in pulp and paper mills, and certain industrial gases are incinerated. It's captured from the smokestacks before it can drift into the air. The EPA classifies it as an industrial byproduct, commonly repurposed in concrete, road constructions, even cosmetics and toothpaste. But disposing industrial waste is one of the most expensive environmental challenges in the entire industrial world, costing industries hundreds of billions of dollars a year in treatments and containment. Could this financial burden have led to an alternative plan, one that reframes pollution as a necessary climate solution? Now, some researchers claim that blocking the sun is a solution to climate change. But what if it also provides a way to repurpose industrial byproducts under the guise of environmental protection? You see, instead of paying billions to safely dispose of toxic industrial waste, corporations and government-backed initiatives have rebranded it as a tool to save the planet, turning pollution into a financial windfall. But before we ask who profits from geoengineering, we need to ask a bigger question. Who created the climate change movement, and what was the real purpose? Was it about saving the planet or creating a system where corporations and governments could dictate energy, economy, and even the sky itself? You might be asking yourself, what exactly is in these so-called climate solutions? The same industries that produce toxic waste may have found a way to avoid costly disposal by releasing it into the atmosphere instead. Smart, huh? Let's break down some of the most concerning materials being repurposed for geoengineering. Fly ash is packed with heavy metals, aluminum, barium, strontium, and even traces of radioactive elements. It's known to cause neurological damage, respiratory disease, and immune suppression. Instead of spending fortunes to dispose of it, is it being released into our skies under the banner of climate engineering? Now, coal is not the only source of particulate waste. Pulp and paper mills generate their own type of fly ash filled with hazardous metals and chemical residue. It's so toxic that proper disposal is very costly. But could it make its profitable way into our air instead of landfills? The list doesn't stop there. Sulfur dioxide, used in solar radiation management, is a major cause of acid rain. Heavy metals like lead, arsenic, and mercury can poison water supplies and damage human health. And PFAS, the so-called forever chemicals, are nearly impossible to remove. Imagine the damage being done by these substances being sprayed into the sky by the hundreds of megatons each year. What does that mean for every man, woman, and child on the planet? These materials don't just disappear. They fall back down to our soil, our water, in our lungs. They cross the blood-brain barrier. If climate engineering is really just industrial waste disposal in disguise, then the question is no longer whether it's happening, but why it was even allowed to begin with. Fly ash, sulfur dioxide, and toxic industrial waste, these aren't just pollutants. They may actually be the very foundation of geoengineering programs designed to block the sun. Instead of costly disposal, industries have found a way to rebrand their waste as climate solutions, the mother of all marketing schemes. Let's break down what's really in these materials and the risks that they pose. These materials don't just disappear. They have to go somewhere. And if they're not being properly contained, well, what if they're being put right back out into the atmosphere from where they came under the name of climate climate engineering. We have to save the climate, we have to get rid of the waste. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? Was the waste the reason that climate engineering or the climate crisis was developed? We now know with peer-reviewed studies that bees are testing with 70 times the amount of aluminum in their systems that it takes to create Alzheimer's or dementia in a human being. If this level of contamination is affecting bees, our primary pollinators, what does that mean for the entire food chain? And if industrial waste is falling from the sky, what does it mean for us? Obviously, the next question is, are industries bypassing that costly disposal by disguising the most caustic toxic waste humankind has ever developed as a climate solution? Who profits? And why are these substances, normally expensive to clean up, now appearing in our crops, our forests, the air, our water, and the soil? The evidence is there. The question is, will we expose it before it's too late? And are we permanently locked in this biohazard prison? I'm Sergey Brown, and this is Sergey versus Goliath.